Oops, again, this has to be restarted. This is from all time. Yeah, that's better. So, market structure, competition and monopoly, perfect competition and monopoly. Looking at the perfect competition in the first place, but let's look at these factors that determine, or it's both ways. These features determine the market structure determines these features basically. Either way, degree of competition among the firms depend on the number of firms in the industry. If the size of the industry is large, and we can expect a large number of firms to be operating in that industry, and essentially when there is a large number of firms, the competition will usually be fierce. We can expect the competition to be quite fierce. Think of restaurants. There are quite a lot, I should say, not a few, quite a lot of restaurants in the UK. Curry houses. Have you been to Brick Lane? The number of curry house, do you call them curry house? Guys? What? The Brick Lane curry restaurants? What do you call them? They have a name, special name. Brick Lane is famous for its curry shops or houses. Very competitive. Even to gain market share, they offer extra bits, which will, they go to an extent where by sacrificing this profit that they would gain. They offer wine, free this, free that. It just eats into their profit and margin. But that's the nature of competition, nature of perfect competition in some cases. Now, how free the entry and exit is from the market is also an important. The degree to which the entry and exit is free. So to some industries, it's free to enter. In other words, you could actually become a farmer by just using your own plot of land. You could just grow tomatoes, you could grow all these, and then sell them online or sell them in the market, small community organized markets, and you are entering the sort of competing against all the shops now in that market. Also, nature of product also determines the nature of market. Products that do not require a lot of outlay initially usually will be competitively produced at low costs. But products that require huge investment like cars, oil, airplanes, you can expect the market to be imperfectly competitive. Like that could be oligopoly, like you have few dominant firms and a few smaller firms, dominant firm dominating the price mechanism, while monopoly is another option or market structure. That also depends on the product's nature of the product, and also nature of demand curve. In some structures, market structures, the demand curve is horizontal, like we discussed last time, and in some cases it's downward sloping. And we will look at them one by one in a minute. So these are the 4 market structures we will cover in the next few weeks, possibly 2 weeks, excluding next week, because next week is a test week. Tuesday we will have the revision class. Thursday we'll have the test, so it will be the remaining 3 weeks to go on this topic. Okay, so let's look at the features. Type of market, there are 4 of them. Number of firms in these markets. Guys, those are looking at their screens. Are you listening to me? Yes? I'm just doing this so I don't see that sort of communication or eye contact at all. And everyone is sitting at the back for some reason.
Chargers.
Chargers? Yeah. Oh, you don't have them on the sides, okay. Leave them charging there. Leave them charging and then come forward. Leave your devices charging there. Don't use them. Okay, next. So the number of firms in each of these market structures differ. So in perfect competition, they are in quite large numbers. Perfect competition means the individual firm won't be able to affect the market because it will have only a very small fraction of the whole market. I'll give you an example. Do you see that green column? I'll give examples in due course. With monopolistic competition, you have many firms, but not as many as the perfect competition case. We will discuss that as well. So do not confuse monopolistic competition with monopoly. With monopoly, you have only one firm. In the UK, we have some companies that are monopoly. The NHS is a monopoly. Prescription drug producers are monopolists. Once they get the license or they win the tender to supply, then that certain type of drug government buys from them basically. As a result, they become the monopoly in that market. And then oligopolists are a few firms. These are dominant firms, not single, so few. So you know the term oligarchs? Oligarch? The name oligarch comes from the economic term oligopoly. Oligarch means few wealthy people, while oligarch is basically offshoot of oligopoly. Oligopoly is few dominant firms. So the wealthy people are oligarchs, few of them. Usually in a whole large country like Russia, you have few rich firms controlling the whole of Russia basically, and these are oligarchs. The same with oligopoly. Few large retailers like Tesco, Sainsbury's, Morrisons controlling whole retail market in the UK. And in America, the same thing. Walmart, Best Buy, and few others. But it's a huge country, yeah? So these are oligopolists. Freedom of entry. How free is entry? To perfect competition, you can easily enter. If the market is perfectly competitive, there is no cost. In other words, let's say you are a flower expert. You could easily, just by a few quid investment, you could easily start your own flower shop, selling from your home on eBay, on Amazon, and eventually branch out into high street shops, right? So these are easy entry markets, flower market. The agricultural market, for example, you could grow all your products in your garden, back garden, and sell them in the market, and enter the market as well freely. Monopolistic competition. In these markets, it's also easy to enter, but here what you do is you differentiate your products from others, because under perfect competition, products are identical, while under monopolistically competitive markets, the markets require you to differentiate your products. Go to the toothpaste aisle in Tesco. You will see plenty of different toothpaste. They're differentiating from each other with flavor, quality, this and that, and this, and the 24-hour, extreme, you know, lots of different types. You see, it's only one type of product, toothpaste, but so many different versions. That's oligopolistic competition, monopolistic competition. So we just try to differentiate. With the same is true with the restaurant business. So many Italian, Indian, Bengali, Taiwanese, or Chinese restaurants, but they differentiate with taste, yeah? But the same meal. As a result, because of differentiation, they can charge various prices, different prices. While under perfect competition, price is the same for every business. They have to just take the price given. Oligopolistic competition. These markets are very difficult to enter. Like, imagine opening a car factory in the UK. It will take about 2 years to start the business alone. Yeah, large amount of investment. Education, for example, is not that easy as well. Oligopoly. Well, at the moment, having so many universities in London, it's more like competition, but then you have big names. So it's a different, it has its own rules, basically, education market. But you still have oligopolists there. London has the largest university in the UK. Nottingham, sorry. At the moment, it's Nottingham now. It used to be London Metropolitan University. Had the largest number of students in the UK, 36,000 at one point. That London Metropolitan. Now I think they lost it to Nottingham with the largest number of students. Anyway, so monopoly, well, it's restricted entry, definitely. Given that only single market can afford everything, or just covers all the market. Think of software markets, software business. I think I told about Microsoft being acting more like a dominant. You take any student here, any student anywhere else, ask them which word processing software they use. They tell you Microsoft Office, Microsoft Excel. Yeah, it's becoming more like a dominant monopolist. Even Apple uses the Office software for its customers to buy. So, I don't know if there's any word processing software that Apple itself produces or any app that can be very competitive. as that is that of Microsoft. So monopoly is restricted market. So the monopolist puts barriers to entry, maybe because of their patenting rules, patents, maybe because governments, highly regulated areas, industries. Defense industry is usually tend to be either oligopoly or monopoly market. Okay, nature of products. Perfect competition requires homogeneous products, identical products, undifferentiated. But with the monopolistic competition, you need differentiation. You need to differentiate from others. Oligopoly, the same, could also be undifferentiated. But monopoly, the products that are monopolists selling are unique. No one else can produce them in a specific market. So it's about a specific region. Obviously, if you go beyond Britain or Europe or America, you will see that Chinese companies have their own word processing software. Russians have their own. Of course, Microsoft is competing with them. But in Europe and in America, if you ask the students, any student or people, they will tell you that many of them use the Microsoft products. Examples. Look at the examples. Perfect competition. Market for cabbages, carrots, melons, watermelons. All the agricultural products, for example, are mostly perfectly competitively supplied. Milk, eggs. Farmers are fighting for this market. And they reduce the prices. Even some producers complain about milk being sold at lower than costs. Monopolistic competition is among plumbers. They just differentiate. They say, I'll do this, I'll do that. And all this advertisement. You see plumbers advertising, being the best, the quality. They do extra work for free. For example, restaurants, different flavor. Oligopoly, grocery retailers. These Tesco, Asda, others, a number of them. Cars. You don't have perfectly competitive car market in the UK. New markets, new cars. But obviously, the old cars are competitively priced, very much competitively priced. Electrical appliances, Sony and, you have electrical appliance producers, Samsung, Beko, and a couple of others. Not many of them. Chinese are coming in now. And monopoly are usually these rare firms. Now, in capitalistic world, monopoly is disliked because it's not socially optimal. In other words, that having a monopoly doesn't benefit the society because it could charge any price it wants. And there is no competition. Yeah. For example, in certain industries like rail industry, would you want to see a monopolist? They may not put an investment at all, yeah? They just put the old rails just like a few years back. The trains were quite old, maybe a few decades back. Under British rail control, trains were quite old, they didn't upgrade. With the competition, they tried to upgrade and attract more and more. NHS is an example of monopoly. Well, you of course have the private clinics, but they are nowhere near NHS basically. It sounds like it's free, but it's not actually. You are really paying, if you're working in NI, in national insurance. That national insurance contribution is the price for healthcare that you pay. As a result, since you are paying as you go, you're receiving treatment for free, kind of for free. It's like an insurance. Yeah, national insurance, the name tells it to you that NHS is not free. But of course, for someone who doesn't work, it's completely free. They aren't paying anything since they aren't working. It's only from the wages that they deduct the national insurance contributions. How about the demand? For economists, it's the shape of the demand curve. Perfect competition, because of products being homogeneous and individual firms being tiny relative to the whole market, the demand curve is a flat horizontal curve. The company can sell as much as it wants at that given price because the firm is a price taker. But with others, it's mostly downward sloping. And we study one by one in the next couple of weeks' time, all of them. So I'm going to skip to the perfect competition case, where I will be talking more about the horizontal price taker firm demand. And we'll leave the rest for now, because we can give more details in due course. Perfect competition. Analysis of perfect competition should really be based on these assumptions. First, that all firms sell identical products. You can think of carrots being very much identical. You don't see a carrot wrapped up nicely, except for packaged carrots, obviously. Yeah, but that doesn't really give us, won't really indicate the quality. It just shows that they are just wrapped up in a different way, right? You have the same taste of melon. If they really grown outside the UK, they probably be tasty ones, because in the UK you don't see sun that many times or that much. As a result, plants not receiving enough sunlight won't be that tasty or delicious. So all these agricultural products really are imported from outside for that reason. Here, however, I think the farming wise, the cattle farmers are very good here because of the rain and the grass, quality of grass here. So the cattle breeding is much more appropriate here than the climates that could be better. I mean, the Mediterranean climate and Asian climate is good. African climate is good for fruits and veggies. So these are identical usually products. Milk, the difference is organic and inorganic milk, but then you have the same taste. Not much of a difference, yeah? So we expect the firms in this industry to be selling identical goods with slightly different packaging, if necessary. And also, buyers of the products know every single information about the product that they are buying and about the firm. So information is free. That's true, because with the internet, you can find any information about the products. Yeah? That's the characteristics of perfect competition. Another one is that when they operate at normal capacity, firms' output will be just small fraction of the whole market output. So they are just individual, small players in a large market. Think of restaurants. Eatery business is large. I mean, the market is huge. But then they are monopolistically competitive. Think of them being, I'm taking this example because there are so many of them with a small share of market share, in other words. That's one reason I'm taking them, but they are actually monopolistically competitive firms. And each firm is a price taker as a result. They just take and sell at that price, whatever the market says. And entry is free. As I said, flower business is an example. You just grow them at home and sell them right away. Or start a second-hand market for used second-hand goods. Sell your own old goods on eBay. So advent of this e-business really helps the improvements in competitive markets, competition in the market. Okay. The demand curve now. It's the major difference from other market structures. The demand curve is unique in this market, and usually it's horizontal. Let's have a look. Before that, we have to just mention this caveat. The marginal cost, the point at which companies produce and sell in the perfect competitive markets is where the marginal cost curve crosses the marginal revenue curve. And marginal revenue curve is the average revenue curve. And average revenue curve is the demand curve. And that demand curve is driven by it is horizontal because of the price taker feature of the participants, the market participants, the firms. Firms take the price as given and sell at that horizontal price. As a result, their marginal revenue will be equal to their price, and that is equal to their average revenue. Yes, Abdul? What I have just said? Say it. Repeat it, please. Yeah. I see you are busy with your mobile phone. If you want, you can go out and do that outside, not here. It's not acceptable. I mean, you can use your computer to view the PowerPoints, but then, blatantly doing this is not a good idea. I mean, I've been observing it for a little while, but I give you the freedom of choice. You can do this and that. But not much rules in this class, but then you have to respect them. I expect some sort of respect from you as well, towards others, towards myself, towards yourself as well. Okay. All right, so now we will analyze these characteristics in graphs now. Two things you need to note here. The y-axis is the price axis, which is the same for the individual firm and then for the industry. This is an industry curve, industry structure. Notice that the x-axis is in millions. The quantities are in millions. Quantities are in millions. Now we shift at this equilibrium price to the supplier, individual firm. Because the individual firm is price taker, they just sell at that price, whatever they produce. And their demand curve, as a result, will be the straight line. So equilibrium price is the price at which individual firms sell any quantity. Usually, the demand curve for individual firms is also downward sloping. As they increase price, they sell lower. As they reduce the price, they sell higher amounts. But remember, the price that's determined in the market is what the firm takes as given. The price doesn't change until the market forces move it. Individual firms do not have influence on the price. So that's straight line. As a result, we get straight line at any quantity. And remember, generally we talk about, in a new normal case, we will talk about selling more only when the price comes down. That only happens in the industry, but not by the firm's own actions. Firms' actions do not influence the industry's characteristics. Okay, so now superimposing all the cost curves that we studied last time, we can work out the profit maximizing units that the firm should sell. They should sell equilibrium quantities, that's QE, at which marginal cost is equal to marginal revenue. We studied this last time, this kind of curve, and this will be in test 2 as well. Either will be a quantitative or most likely qualitative. I think there's not enough time for you to study this completely, but there will be qualitative question on this, so make sure that you understand the mechanics of these graphs. You will have to draw, if necessary, some graphs, sketch them while you're explaining to get the higher marks. Okay. So the area as a result is the loss of profit area. Notice that the red point is higher, on a higher level, AR, in terms of price, than the AC. AC is the average cost. The difference between these two will give us the profit. Now, question is, this is not the profit that we're looking at usually, paper profit. We're looking at here economic profits. What did I tell about profits last time? What's the definition of economic profit? What's the definition of economic profit? We distinguish the accounting profit, the paper profit that you receive into your pocket, from economic profit. These are two different concepts. So can anyone tell us, please? You need to be able to explain this for the test and for the final exam. Yes?
Isn't it like the difference between revenue and opportunity cost?
Yes, you can think of that as well. Just give us an example. For example, you need to write an essay. You want to give an example to demonstrate your good understanding for an A mark usually. You can define it, which is sufficient for, let's say, B plus or A minus usually. But if you give more details to show us greater understanding or proper understanding, you should be able to give us examples. So give an example. You can draw an example from my example as well. This is the example I gave last time, last Thursday. Right. So usually when you open a business, you hire an accountant to work out what the profit level is per unit or per year. That profit is your pocket money usually. You will receive them as dividends. So this is the paper money. Let's say you receive 100,000 from your business. $100,000. Now, that's accounting profit, not economic profit yet. Now let's say that as a new business owner, you think that if you didn't invest in this business that you're doing now, whatever it is, you would have invested elsewhere the funds that you invested in this business. And you would think that you would have earned 100,000 as well doing that business. So opportunity cost of doing this business is the 100,000 that you would have earned doing another business. So you then take away that one, opportunity cost. Then you get economic profit of 0. You see, we subtract away, take away the opportunity costs from the accounting costs to arrive at economic profits. And when this is 0, this is called normal profit. The firms achieve normal profit. Normal profit is usually, doesn't necessarily mean no more profit in terms of cash. You really have that 1,000. It's just you theoretically take away that 100,000. It doesn't really, it's not an expense, but it's a compensation. So the business is, current business is compensating your lost opportunity, or the opportunity that given up to earn that cash, yeah? So it's a normal profit for a business. And these here, we're shading here, these are usually, this is actually super normal profit. Usually if the AC is equal to MC and MR, that's where the normal profit is. At the moment we're seeing a supernormal profit. And supernormal profit is when the opportunity cost is lower. For example, 10,000. You're thinking now that I think I'm very happy now, because if I invest all my money on that business, I would have just earned 10,000 because I know it from another business who is in that industry. So you just take away from your existing profit, the 10,000 forgone, you come up with 90,000, which means you actually earned supernormal profit. The profit that compensates all your costs in terms of loss forgone profits, and plus leaves some extra economic benefits. So these are supernormal. These are supernormal profits. And firms, when they see supernormal profits, they enter the market to compete with the existing firms. So you see, as an economics student, you should think slightly differently from that ordinary accounting student. For them, it's the accounting profit that matters. For you as an economist, if anyone is doing economics course, it's about opportunity costs when you do a business. Yes, what was your name? Sina. Okay. Define economic profit, please.
The difference between total monetary revenue and total costs.
What does total cost include? So these are monetary revenues.
Wait,
Total cost.
wait.
The total cost includes.
I know exact option costs.
Yeah.
I wasn't looking, I was trying to remember.
The total cost really includes the monetary cost and opportunity cost. But because we started here with the profit, we reduced the revenue by the explicit monetary cost already, so we don't have to take into account. What we really focus now is implicit opportunity cost. Yeah? So it's the difference between monetary and opportunity cost gives us. Sorry, monetary profit and opportunity cost gives us that. Or you can think of it as revenue minus monetary cost minus opportunity cost equals that economic profit. Yeah? It really depends on how it's treated in the books. Some books may treat it differently than the one I just showed, but it implicitly means the same thing. Explicitly as well, since it's the same thing. Alright, so these shaded areas show us the economic profit that firms could gain. The average cost includes the opportunity cost here as well for each firm. And marginal revenue is the price. Because additional revenue from selling the additional unit comes at the same price. Remember? Additional units are sold at that price, which is defined by the red line, horizontal line. Okay, there could also be short run possible losses as well. Notice how it is characterized. Now, the green line, green curve, is above the red line, margin revenue. In that case, since we're looking at minimizing the loss, we always sell quantity E. That is the equilibrium quantity, which minimizes the possible losses. And that red area, shaded area, is the minimized loss area. And then AC, green point here, that point on the green curve, is the cost curve, point on the cost curve. While the point on the red curve is the price we're receiving. So that's lower than the cost, which means we're losing per unit. We're incurring losses, yeah? Is this clear? Firm in the short run incurs costs. However, in the long run, they gain it. Because in the short run, if perfect competition is firms are losing, a lot of firms exit the market, which means fewer firms are able to raise the price. Fewer firms supplying low amounts, prices naturally rise anyway. That means at some point they recover all these losses. Okay, any question on this now?
Can you repeat, can you explain again the green curve?
The green curve is the average cost curve. It is at the lower units is higher. Remember that at lower units, this is from last week. So at lower units, if you trace up there, it's higher, much higher than the red one. This red line, not this curve, red line is the price line. It's also demand. So as a perfect competitive market participant or the firm, we can sell at that price, PE or P1 here, any quantity. But if we sell that quantity, notice the difference between red and green is huge. That means huge loss. So we don't want to sell that. We should stop selling at this point where the loss will be minimum. We could sell here, but the losses are huge. So we have to find a point where we want to survive in the market with the losses. We want to select the quantity that makes our losses lowest. And that is where the marginal cost crosses the marginal revenue curve. And if you just look at the shaded area, then that's the loss, minimum loss in the market. Yeah? Is this clear? Now let's look at this now again. I'm going to back, since you asked that question, I just want to see if you understood this one as well, the one that we drew earlier. How about this? Do you have any question on this? Look, the straight line is again the demand curve, and that's the price line as well. We sell at that price any amount. However, we sell at the quantity, at the point where the margin revenue crosses the marginal cost, and that gives us this quantity, and that gives us the maximum profit as well. Yeah? Okay, so notice this. The point, the reason we sell or we produce QE, some quantity, is because our marginal cost is equal to marginal revenue. Beyond it, marginal cost is higher than marginal revenue, so we don't want to sell there. Because the distance here starts minimizing or declining. Yeah? So this is a rule from last week again. Perfect competition requires us to sell at the point where marginal revenue equals marginal cost. That gives us the maximum profits. And also it gives us maximum losses if the average cost curve is above the red line. I hope this is clear. Yes, okay. Right. Right, so let's trace out the supply curve. So far we've been talking about the demand curve being flat. And that made sense, hopefully. Now, how about the supply? How do they supply? What's the shape of the supply curve? As usual, it's forward slash kind of thing. You know the forward slash in typing? You have that positive sloped curve. Right, let's trace it in a theoretical way. This is our supply curve. And this is our demand curve. Usually they cross, that's the equilibrium point in the market. And in the market, when there's a perfect competition, you see the firm's supply and demand schedule has thousands in x-axis and millions in the industry x-axis. So sum of all this supply and demand, individual demands of thousands of goods make up the millions in the industry. Are you with me, guys, in terms of that? Industry curve, x-axis shows millions of amounts, while the x-axis for the firm is thousands. A small firm just produces 1,000 units, while whole market sells 1 million per day maybe. Yeah, it's just only 1% of whole firm. Okay, whole industry I should say. Now, as we said, since the firms are price takers, their demand is their margin revenue curve. And when you trace out the marginal cost, that's usually what it is. Marginal cost is usually increasing, yeah, as we produce more. It's usually U-shaped, but we just cut off that part where it's declining. Now, what if demand declines and new equilibrium point arises in the market? Then obviously there has to be new price line for the firm, and that's horizontal line there, next horizontal line, red line, and again that's demand 2. As a result, the point at which the company is willing to produce is the point where margin revenue cross marginal cost, that's point B. Initially it was point A, because decline in price, it's point B now. Now again, in the market, whole industry, the demand still declining. If that does, then as a result, price should decline. Firms have to charge lower prices to attract more customers. So if you draw out, trace that point into the firm, yes?
Is that the way carry on?
Yeah, into the firm space, then what you see is another point there, point C, at which the firm sells the quantities. The quantity that firm sells is the quantity at which marginal cost is equal to marginal revenue. Now, because these points ABC, I mean the ABC, points ABC, show the willingness to supply at these prices, these must be the supply dots or points on the supply curve. So when you trace them up, connect them, you get a perfect supply curve. And marginal cost curve in a perfect competitive firm or industry is the supply curve as well, as a result. Did you understand the point? Because points A, B, C show the willingness to supply at these prices. When you connect them, you come up with that supply curve for that perfectly competitive firm.
But smaller.
But it's small, yeah. So the market demand is basically sum of all these supplies now. Market supply, I mean, is the sum of all the individual supplies, which are in thousands. Does that make sense to you? If in the final it asks you to explain and trace out the nature of firm supply in perfect supply curve in perfect competition, you just need to do these 2 graphs and explain. That will give you the full mark. But I hope you understood it. Yes.
This is only in perfect.
Yes, I'll put this on YouTube. Yeah. You mean the video, recorded video?
No, I was meant to, like, is this only in perfect competition?
Oh, sorry. I heard that part. It is only in perfect competition. Yes. Because in other cases, the demand curve will be downward sloping and they interact slightly differently. Not like in this manner, but you can expect it to be, if the demand shifts in the others as well, you can expect to be behaving like in the other features as well, in the other structures as well. But usually this is the one industry where you can see that marginal cost being the supply curve in perfect competition. Okay, now next, long run equilibrium under perfect competition. Now this is about long run equilibrium. We've been talking about short run equilibrium. Short run equilibrium. Short run. Remember, in the short run, firms produce as many as they can using just fixed resources. Some of the resources are fixed. They just add more variable costs. And at some point, we will run into diminishing marginal returns, which means additional variable inputs will not improve the production. But in the long run, however, firms have freedom to enter the market, invest in the market, and exit the market. And then how does this behavior? I think I'm a bit early for that. Let me have a look. Yes, it's more like this. Just a quick question now. How does the long run cost behave? Sorry. Remember, in the long run, we don't have fixed costs. Everything is variable. What's the shape of long run cost? And what is that cost that we name? What label did we give it last time? Yes. Opportunity?
Cost.
No, it's just opportunity cost. But I'm looking at the shape of the curve. in the long run? Cost curve. And what was the name of that cost curve? We know that short run costs are usually U-shaped except for fixed cost. That's usually downward sloping per unit. As we produce more, we spread the cost over many units, remember? But then when they vary, the shape would look like more like a U in the short run. Will they also look like a U shape? Yes, no? No, yes. So we remember, you have a U shape. When you pull it to opposite sides from their ends, you see that sort of downward slope and then constant part. More like U-shape, but it's actually more like a plate, bowl. You have the bottom being constant and then U-shape on overall U-shape, but then you have a constant part. Now, for the sake of understanding it easily, let's draw them as U-shape as well. But that's how it looks like in theory. Long run average cost is more like a bowl shape, but then with a constant bottom. This one doesn't have it, but it usually should have it. Remember, economies of scale. As we become larger and larger, average cost declines, and then constant, and then this economy scale kicks in, and then average cost increases. So that's the idea here. In the long run, now in perfect competition, in the long run, firms earn supernormal profits. These profits that compensate above the average costs. Because in the long run, the profits are supernormal, new firms enter the market. Imagine seeing a new industry and you will probably set up a business as well because that's yielding a lot of profit. So new firms enter the market. As a result, supply shifts to the right. And then you have that new price, which then determines the demand for the individual firm. That is straight line. Clear, guys? Now, let's say it just kisses the bottom of that LRAC, sorry, average cost. And that is the normal profit point. Profits become normal now. That's because what we earned just covers everything else that we spent. All the expenditure, including opportunity cost. That's a normal cost, a normal profit case. Supernormal profits are only when the average costs are much lower than the prices in this case, yeah? But at the moment, because we're just kissing the bottom of that green curve, we are just covering everything else that we spent, everything that we spent. So this would be 100,000, this would be 0. And normal profit means we definitely have monetary profit, but it also covers, all the profit also covers and offsets all of our opportunity costs. So the business do not operate exactly at 0. Economists' profits are slightly different, as I said earlier. A lot of students confuse this because they think, why are they then producing there if they just earn nothing? We say that in a perfect competition, profits are 0. That implies economic profits are 0, not the monetary profits. There are monetary profits. Firms pay the wages, all other expenditures. It's just the available profit afterwards offsets the opportunity costs. As a result, we will have 0 economic profit, and that is a normal profit. We call it a normal profit. Okay. And in the long run, if you superimpose all the short run costs, firms operate and produce at that point where marginal cost crosses the marginal revenue, where it also reaches the average, long run average costs, and at the same time short run average costs all intersect at one point. That's quite theory here. That's what happens in the theory. In reality, it's slightly different obviously, but this is a benchmark, the theoretical extreme. Yeah? So the quantity that firms supply would be that quantity that corresponds to that point, the green point over there, the circle, small circle there, yeah? So this is the quantity that we produce in the long run. And we sell that amount if we are in a perfectly competitive market quantity. Next. Now, we talked about economies of scale and these economies of scale and how they affect the supply of the firm, supply curve of the firm. Let's look at that in 3 different scenarios. Let's assume that this is a long-run industry, market supply and demand. And let's say demand shifts to the right for a reason, for some reason. So let's name them. What are the reasons that demand curve shifts to the right, moves to the right? Let's start listing them. Give me at least 4 or 5 reasons, please, from the lecture notes from, yes? Which price? No, price changes mean it's a shift along the movement along the curves. It should be 3rd variable changing.
Price of substitutes?
Yes, price of substitutes becoming expensive, yeah? Cost of substitutes becoming expensive means then we buy more of the existing, this product, right? We give up buying the others because obviously these are more expensive. So one reason demand shifts is that those who bought in the past substitute products are now buying these products, so there's more demand for it. And next, any other?
Income.
Yes, maybe we can become richer. We are now buying more of that product, yeah? Okay, next. Yeah. Complements. Yeah, we can think of complements being cheaper. Let's say petrol is cheaper, we buy a lot of cars, yeah? And then cartridges are cheaper, we buy printers, definitely. Electric toothbrush heads are cheaper, we buy toothbrush because the companies make a lot of money from the head sales rather than the electric toothbrush itself, apparently. Tire cheaper, insurance, we buy cars, yeah? Complements are cheaper, that means the demand for cars will increase. So, one more at least. Yeah, the demand curve, why is it shifting from D1 to D2?
Expectations.
Sorry, I heard question, sorry.
Yeah.
Expectations, yes. If you expect the prices to be higher in the future, you buy now. So assume that house prices are increasing after Brexit. If you have savings now, you want to buy now before the prices are reaching. Yeah. So everyone wants to buy now means the demand curve will shift to the right. If they have the same expectation, obviously. Last one that we covered last time. Preferences, yeah. Tastes and preferences changed. We're buying more technology now. So that shifts our demand curve to the right. Everyone prefers high-tech equipment. So demand for these goods just shift up. While we're giving up all the petrol cars, we're now buying electric and all these self-driving cars, hopefully soon. Self-driving cars are doing tests in the UK roads now, public roads. Hopefully they will pass well. Now, what happens in the perfect competition is that given that there is a rise in the demand, suppliers start entering the market. That's because equilibrium point B is at a higher price, higher level than A. So there will be extra companies coming into the market, joining the market, which means then supply curve to this shifts in the long run to the right. Now, if you trace out point A and C, that gives us the long run supply curve. That's the long run supply curve. Yeah? At that price, firms are selling. That's when the costs are constant in the industry. No change to the costs, yeah? Guys? Because if the costs are higher, you don't expect the suppliers to still produce at that cost. They scale back a bit. Now, what if the industry, because of being populated by extra companies, faces these economies of scale? Let's assume now, let's look at the scenario where the demand again shifts to the right for some reason that we discussed earlier, and the supply also shifts to the right, given that there are many suppliers now entering, and they are still entering, but now costs are a bit higher, because as with many firms coming in, raw materials are declining in supply, so the costs are rising, so we need to import them from outside, probably is costly, so the supply curve will be a bit, long run supply curve will be on kind of angle, and we can see that with tracing out the A and C points. Now, what if when a lot of market participants, firms, enter the market as the demand increases. But we benefit from that larger industry because of economies of scale. In that case, costs decline as many companies enter the market. So the market supply curve is now a bit downward sloping. Usually market supply doesn't look like, it doesn't look like a market supply. Downward sloping curve is only, we've seen so far is demand curve. At high prices, we'd like to sell more, not less. Yeah? But this is theoretical counterpart. In the long run, we can expect, if you trace them out, they look like more like a downward sloping, but not necessarily. The case is only arising because larger the industry, larger the benefits of economies of scale. Think of recent Elon Musk's recent decision. You know what he does? He runs. He's the CEO of Tesla Motors, electric cars company. He has recently made his patents, details of the technology and process that the company manufactures, uses the process that company manufactures cars with, is being made public. He said then, this was a controversial, this was the decision that usually not taken up lightly. Businesses protect their patents, trademark, their know-how, their intelligence, right? Their own knowledge that they do. Coca-Cola, for example, no one knows how to make it yet. It's patented, right? Coca-Cola doesn't really want to make it public, but Tesla did it, yes.
Most tech companies are open source anyway, so like Google were doing it for years.
Google was doing it for years.
They still do it now, they did it with their startup.
Why do you think they do it? So that's what the question I was going to ask.
There's like different reasons. One of them is general interest in progression of the market. So like when Uber released Uber, they also had open source software, and then a company in Russia took that software, changed it, and then they had a market in Russia.
Okay.
So like that's one example.
Yeah. So it's to generate economies of scale in the industry. Elon Musk says the reason we are making this secrecy public is because the electric car infrastructure is absent in the UK or in the world. How many electric car charging ports can you see on a what do you call this, fast lane when you travel around the world, around the country, on a highway? Not many, but you see a lot of petrol stations, right? That's what Elon Musk said. We want many charging points, but installing them very expensive. So he says, if my technology becomes public and many others start producing, then governments are forced to install them or incentivize them. Installation, right? So then whole industry benefits from economies of scale because there's a large amount of ports. Then people start buying electric cars just like they buy the normal petrol cars, yeah? So petrol cars are conventional cars, and this is normal for us to buy. I mean, this is just common sense. But then when someone buys fully electric car like Tesla's Model S, you will have to really have certain, you can only travel in London or a few places outside London, yeah? So the car is not that attractive in the sense that there aren't many points. So if you run out of charge right in Birmingham, you might be able to bring it over here without proper charging port there. It's costly again, yeah? So that's reason why they made the patents public. And the benefit of economies of scale, external economies of scale, is huge for the business because the costs start declining eventually then. Now Elon Musk, to sell one or two Model S, they need to install charger points, and these are expensive to install. You need to have electric grid there, special equipment, and then all this extra cost, just off-putting. Okay, next. Incompatibility of economies of scale with perfect competition. Usually, perfectly competitive markets do not offer economies of scale that other market structures offer. That's because firms are so small, they do not enjoy from economies of scale. They do not create themselves an economies of scale environment. Because firms are so small, they cannot really increase their scale, operations, expand operations. The only way they could do is by buying up the competing firms. But when they buy up the competing firms, what happens is that they become oligopolists. So there's no perfect competition at all then. So perfect competition, it's rare to see economies of scale being achieved. Except for some industries, there may be, but economies of scale is a rare thing in perfect competition. Advantages of perfect competition. There are quite a few advantages. I'll leave it to you to read. But the best benefit that we can think of from a society's point of view is socially optimum. We produce and sell at point where the prices equal marginal costs. So firms usually do not, we don't see, we enjoy the quality, we enjoy that, but the prices are lowest, at their lowest minimum. Oligopolists can collude and increase the prices. Monopolists collude and increase the prices. Monopolistic competition, again, prices are higher in monopolistic competition because of differentiation. But with the perfect competition, usually prices are lower because competition is based on pricing and prices. And that's the point where the production is at the minimum average cost. As a result, prices can be reduced. And in the long run, only normal profits prevail. So you don't see huge prices as a result. Yeah. And consumers are sovereign. In other words, consumers decide, not the firms. Firms cannot advertise. Advertising doesn't help because the products are identical usually in the perfect competition. And competition means efficiency. Lower costs to society, low wastages, and obviously no point in advertising. Now, I told you about the agricultural products being perfectly competitively supplied. Notice this. This is made in China. Lemon, put in a box, and it grows like a box. They are trying to differentiate from others. But the taste and the type of the melon is more or less the same, right? That you buy from Tesco here. So the quality is not Chinese quality here because it's grown naturally, right? When we look at the goods that you buy, you say, okay, made in China, the compromise in quality. But this is naturally grown, so you can expect the product to be identical to the goods that we can buy here in Tesco. But they're trying to differentiate by giving it a slightly different shape. You can see background as many other products supplied with differentiation. Disadvantages. Because there's a huge competition, investment will be usually lower. So that's one reason why there is little economies of scale, room for economies of scale, I mean. If you invest, you become larger as a company. As a result, you can enjoy the economies of scale. And lack of product variety. Well, that's natural usually, yeah, with the agricultural products. There's little variety among the carrots. You always have that, as long as it's not GMO in terms of grains. And there's a lack of competition over product design or specification. Well, there probably are natural constraints to design the product, like this one here. You can design it externally, but the shape, the taste will remain the same. Okay, any questions on this topic? No?